Phanatic tripped and fell. We're like, yeah, oh my God. And I'm like, okay, the Phanatic, you need to fall down as much as possible. And then when I told the Phanatic I needed to have a breather, and we were all the way down by the railing, the inning ended, and I went, oh, I can have the Phanatic go right out the, behind the Veterans Stadium, behind that big door. Jumped onto the field, and the umpire went like that, and everybody went, oh, look at that. I'm like, okay, write that down.
And it was the Philly Phanatic birthday.
Yeah.
Philly Phanatic birthday, Kevin Millwood throws the no-hitter. And I'm driving home and sports radio, people are calling, they're leaving the game like, we came to the game because it was the Philly Phanatic birthday, and now my kid got to see a no-hitter. He saw baseball history.
I'm Gregg Murphy.
I'm Sam Stafford.
I'm Todd Zalecki.
This is Ruben and Jim.
I'm Jim Salisbury.
Hi everybody, I'm Tom Burgoyne, best friend of the Philly Phanatic. Welcome to Phillies Nation, presented by Valley Forge Tourism.
A vacation in Montgomery County, PA is so affordable, you might lose your cool.
Oh, geez. Don't worry about it. It's free.
Feel free to explore the soldiers' huts.
Free? Yes!
Parking is free! Free! It's free!
With so many affordable things in Montgomery County, go ahead. Freak out!
In Philly, it's about more than the game. This is a legendary tailgate town. Our parking lots are filled with friends, food, and fun. So show up to the tailgate wearing first-rate threads from Shibe Vintage Sports. You can find them at 13th and Walnut in Center City, in downtown Wayne, and now open in Westchester. Shibe Vintage Sports, where there's a story in every stitch.
How do they do that? Welcome back to Phillies Nation, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. I'm Sam Stafford, and one of the most popular faces at the ballpark is the Phillie Phanatic, and Greg got to talk to his two best friends.
Well, Sam, we have, what I would like to say, Phillies royalty with us today. It's the two best friends of the Phanatic over the years, Raymond, Tom Burgoyne here with us. And fellas, first of all, thanks for being here. And so many great memories for all of us in regards to the Phanatic. And we kind of like to go back and talk a little bit about that history. And Dave, I know that you're the perfect guy to start with, because way back when, the Phillie Phanatic, when he came to Philadelphia, you were a big part of bringing that to the fans, were you not?
Yes, but to say that there was no plan is kind of the understatement of the decade. I was an intern 1976, 1977 because my dad helped me get a job because he realized I might not be the type of football coach he was, and he was right. And then I was here, I met Tug McGraw, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have a job doing this. And then I went back to school, but the Phillies called me and said, hey, you want your job back in 78? I go, yeah, I'll do that. He goes, you got to go to New York and go meet the Phanatic in New York, which is where they found him.
Right.
Off the boat from the Galapagos. And it was just, hey, let's see what will happen. And it didn't sound like a good idea on paper, but it worked out.
Well, legend has it that it kind of almost happened overnight and with no script, and you kind of brought him to life, for lack of a better word. Take us through those early days as you're roaming Veterans Stadium as the best friend of the Phanatic.
Yeah, I mean, I was a huge Phillies fan as I am today, and I understood the insecurity of what it was like, with the Den of Iniquity North, with 27 World Championships, a couple less during then, and I just went out and tried to have the Phanatic understand that's what the temperature was, that was what our culture was. That we were a little insecure, but we were brash, and we can say that about our team, but you can't. And Mets fans were the worst of all time, which I mean, I can tell you that. It's all the same thing. And Bill Giles said, make sure you and the Phanatic are having fun, because and I'm going, I'm a professional idiot, I'm in college, and then he yelled at me, G-rated fun. So, I had the box, and it was amazing because. immediately afterwards, hey, we want the Phanatic to come to a car dealership. And Bill would look at somebody and go, well, what's he doing there? But, go out there and see what they want. And then 5,000 people would show up, and I'd come back and say, I think we need some security. So it was little drips and drabs of understanding what we should be doing, but the beauty of Bill's direction made it easy. I mean, certainly for me, I had no pressure. I'm like, I'll go out and fool around, and then I found out when the Phanatic tripped and fell, I'm really like, yeah, look at that. And I'm like, okay, the Phanatic, you need to fall down as much as possible. And then when I told the Phanatic I needed to have a breather, and we were all the way down by the railing, the inning ended, and I went, oh, I can have the Phanatic go right out behind at Veterans Stadium, behind that big door, jumped onto the field, and the umpire went like that, and everybody went, oh, look at that. I'm like, okay, write that down.
And that's how it works.
Yeah, he's got a much harder job being the Phanatic, because the Phanatic is now full of himself, and he's got to, he has to tamp down.
Well, Tom, you think about it. I was 6 years old when the Phanatic came from the Galapagos Islands, and here we are in 2024. I'm not 6 anymore. Yeah. I mean, here I am at age 52, and he still makes me laugh every day. And it's a testament to what he has continued to evolve and become, right? And that's all you.
And it's it wouldn't have been me if it wasn't for Dave being the first friend, because Murph, I was like 13 years old when the Phanatic came out. Yeah. Old man over here. Yeah. So it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I was a Three Stooges guy and a Phillies guy, so it was perfect. This was the greatest thing in the world. So when Dave mentioned, all of a sudden the phone started ringing, and people wanted to see the Phanatic outside. He always had that second friend, and that's how I got started with Dave. And so the Phanatic had 2 friends until he had enough of Dave. He got the boot from it's been awesome.
The amazing thing, and I look at Tom like a brother. We're very close friends, and we felt the same way. We were listening to the same music, the sounds of Philadelphia. Right. He would make sure the Phanatic had the best music. So I had a muse with Tom, and for 5-6 years, we shared this love, and the Phillies have always cared. Yeah. They've treated the Phanatic as what he is, a living, breathing extension of all that we love about not just the Phillies, but Philadelphia. And Tom, it's so great. I mean, 30 years and then 5 years working together, it's just phenomenal, the care and the consistency that's made it work. And I come to the games. I'm a bigger Phanatic fan than you could imagine, but also a Phillies fan. And I don't watch the game when the Phanatic's out. I'm like, oh, and then it'll be on the phone call.
He's easily entertained.
Yeah, well, we all must be. And we're standing here at the yard at Citizens Bank Park, and I'm looking around, and the Phanatic is everywhere because he brings so much joy to the fans of Philadelphia. Baseball wins and losses, they come and go. We know that. There's been lean years, but the Phanatic, he never wavers, and I think that's part of the secret to his success, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And it really hit me once, Murph. It was the last year at the Vet. It was the last Phanatic birthday party, and Kevin Millwood throws that no-hitter. I'll never forget driving home, and it was the Philly Phanatic birthday. Yeah. Philly Phanatic birthday, Kevin Millwood throws the no-hitter. And I'm driving home and sports radio. People are calling, they're leaving the game like, we came to the game because it was the Philly Phanatic birthday, and now my kid got to see a no-hitter. He saw baseball history. So to cultivate young fans, I get it every time. I get goosebumps thinking of that ride home and listening to those fans. It's really one of the main reasons the Phanatic is here, to cultivate those young fans.
All right, don't go anywhere, guys, because we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the great memories, some of the great experiences that the Phanatic has had the chance to experience over the years. But that's coming up in just a couple minutes.
And now, another crazy Philly sports story that you've never heard. You've probably heard of the 1919 Black Sox scandal that kept Shoeless Joe out of the Hall of Fame. But did you know that many think the Philadelphia A's did the same thing 5 years earlier? The 1914 A's were a dominant team loaded with future Hall of Famers such as Chief Bender, Home Run Baker, and Eddie Collins. They were taking on the Miracle Braves of Boston, who had been 10.5 games back in July, but had come back to win the pennant. The A's were appearing in their 3rd World Series in 4 years and were heavily favored, but shockingly, the Braves swept them in 4. Bruce Kucklick, author of the definitive book on Shibe Park, thinks the series might not have been on the level.
As far as I'm concerned, the A's threw the World Series. They laid down, and the reason they did so is that Connie Mack had a long history long antedating 1914 and up through the 1950s of being a cheapskate, and he was. And the result was finally shown in 1914 when the A's basically, as I put it, laid down. They just didn't play their best, and the result was that the Braves swept them.
The 1914 series marked the end of the first A's dynasty. Max saw World War I on the horizon, knew it would be bad for attendance, and traded virtually every good player he had for cash. Just 2 years later, the A's went 36-117, still the worst record in Major League history.
BetPark's online casino and sportsbook. You love to play, you play to win, you bet BetPark.
When you open the BetParks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the anticipation of another face card, the thrill of an extra spin, and the pure joy of a jackpot. It's all your favorite games at your fingertips. Plus, get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. BetParks.
Phillies Nation is your source for breaking news, original analysis, trade insights, and more. With credentialed access, our team of writers brings you first-hand accounts from your favorite players on today's team, minor league prospects of the future, and Phillies alumni from the past. Join our community and connect with hundreds of thousands of diehard fans through our social media, road trips, tailgate parties, and charity events. Don't miss a thing. Be sure to visit PhilliesNation.com every single day.
Welcome to This Week in Philly Baseball History, presented by Shibe Vintage Sports. This week in 2009, Harry Kalas was inducted into the team's Wall of Fame. Kalas debuted as a broadcaster in the city during the 1971 season, the first year of Veterans Stadium, and became the sound of summer for millions of fans. Celebrate more Philly sports history with clothing from Shibe Vintage Sports, where there's a story in every stitch. Visit them at 13th and Walnut Streets or at shibesports.com.
Hello, Betsy.
Oh, good day, Ben.
I'd like you to meet my new friend. His name is the Philly Phanatic.
Oh, very nice to meet you, Mr. Phanatic.
Looks like you're busy. What are you sewing today?
Very busy. I've been asked to make a new flag for our country, but I just don't know what colors to use or what this flag should look like.
The Phanatic is in need of a new shirt, and I thought you'd be just the person to help.
Indeed, I am. So what would you like this new shirt to look like, Mr. Phanatic? So your normal, baseball jersey has red and white stripes and stars on it. Let me see what I can come up with.
And welcome back to Phillies Nation, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. And we are here with Dave Raymond, Tom Burgoyne, the two best friends of the Phanatic for the last 4+ decades now in Philadelphia. And guys, I can't imagine how many amazing stories you must have being with the Phanatic. But Dave, I'll start with you because back in the day, I mean, the 1980 World Series, that was his coming out party, really.
Yeah, and it was hard to calculate that being the first championship for this franchise, this storied franchise. So there's going to be a big parade, and I go, and Mr. Giles was always collaborating with me, which scared the heck out of me, like if I betray his trust. So I got there, he said, we're going to put you up there, the main float with all the families, and it was all tight in there, and I went, Mr. Giles, the Phanatic has not showered like in a month. It's not going to be good. And he goes, okay, well, we've got 2 additional flatbeds. Let's put you in the back of the parade all by yourself. Best place. Because I'm seeing the wake of humanity, and they're all following us to JFK. And I remember there was a father with his young kid on his shoulders. And he couldn't tell what was going on with his kid because I'm bringing my kid, and he's fighting his way through the crowd, and this crazy kid's crying. And he's scared to death. And I'm like waving at him, and he's going like this to me. And I go down, I go, okay, well, I'll take whatever you're going to give me. And I take it, and then crowd swallows him up. I see him pull his kid down, and he comforts the kid. I'm like, great. And it's his Pennsylvania driver's license. His name happens to be David Raymond.
Oh.
He wants, now I got his license. And he's blissfully going. So I had to give the license to and that whole day was that. They all wanted to be a little part of it, and that was the embodiment of that, where this guy just wanted me to know I'm connected. And that's what sports do, but that championship was like no other. And the bad part about being best friend of the Phanatic is I had to take him at JFK underneath to get him all cleaned up, and that's where Tug McGraw gave his great speech with the newspaper. And hey, I'll sacrifice for the Phanatic. I want to take care of him, but I missed all that.
I think we have some tape of that. We can send it to you. You can watch it. 8 years later, you had an opportunity to do
Yeah,
the
I mean,
same
that's
thing.
what's so cool about
Yeah.
this, Murph, because we both got that opportunity to be with the Phanatic. There's only been 2, unfortunately, in Philadelphia. We're going to have more of them, but the fact that we both got the chance to enjoy that, no doubt, that was definitely my highlight being, I guess you were towards the back. The Phanatic in 08 was right in the front, right behind Pat Burrell and the Clydesdales. And, you know, just Harry was on our floats. Everybody was yelling for Harry. And, yeah, you know, it was just unbelievable to experience. I remember a party the night before the Phillies had this great tent party for employees and players. And I remember telling some of the players who hadn't been around Philadelphia, I said, wait till you see what happens tomorrow.
It's going to be unreal.
Wait till you
they
see
were
what
already
happens.
lining up.
Yeah.
At that point,
for sure.
During the tent party from the night before. And then, of course, you got a chance to close down the vet as well before they moved into this beautiful ballpark.
And that was really just a special year, Murph. You know, just such a, and then that final weekend, the final innings with all the ceremonies and kind of closing down the vet. And I remember being with the Phanatic up in the upper deck and just, you know, it was one big, you could walk around the whole stadium. It's a little different here at Citizens Bank Park. But I just remember the Phanatic walking around that whole 600 and 700 level, and everybody, tears in people's eyes, and people, the hugs, and you know, just really.
It was not a dump. All right,
No,
let's get that clear.
no, it was.
Well, it may have been, but it was our dump, right? And that's okay.
Right.
Before we close this out, I do have to, you know, the Phanatic, as great as he is at the ballpark and as wonderful as all the great memories he brings us here, the Phanatic is much more a part of the community probably than all of us realize. And Dave, you have a memory of that, bringing the Phanatic to folks that maybe needed to smile the most.
And I appreciate pointing that out because a lot of people don't see that. I mean, we were asked to do funerals, and we started doing so many of them, we said the Phanatic puts the F-U-N in funeral. And, you know, internally we're saying it, and we didn't understand, a lot of times, at least when I was there, I didn't understand why it was working. But, you know, you walk into a hospital room, and this is just generically because so many of them, and there's a family dealing with tragedy that you have a difficulty handling. But when you walk in there, it's a celebration, and you leave, and the parents go, thanks for the best medicine we could have ever had, and you go, and I'm getting chills now, and I go like, wow. And we don't forget about that because we go along with the Phanatic and see it over and over and over again. But it's a bigger thing. It's a bigger thing than a giant green Muppet. I mean, it just is. And that is indicative of it. We both, that's the beauty of this job, is going in the community to places where everybody needs something really important and they just get a moment of pause, because when he shows up, you forget about it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I've had the opportunity to watch him in action, and just the amount of joy he brings, whether it's here at the ballpark or out in the community, it's immeasurable, and that's what makes it so special. And from a guy who's been watching him since 1977, it's pretty darn impressive. So before I let you go, we gotta go down memory lane just one more time, because I really am interested. Best friends of the Phanatic. So favorite moments, Dave? Do you have one or two?
I do, but the one that everyone, I think, would appreciate is the Lasorda. I call it the Lasorda factor. Just was Tommy really mad at you? And I used to tell a 20-minute story, which we don't have time for, but Johnny Marks, when he was with Odyssey, asked me after Tommy passed away, tell us the story, and I told it, and then he goes, oh, so Tommy was okay with it until he wasn't. I went, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But he was, every time I saw him without my friend, he'd say, how's your dad doing? Because he's from Norristown. He knew my dad's history here. And we'd have a conversation, and then he would see all the people around him. You know how you tell a story over and over again? You think, am I adding to this? You have all these people around him, and he goes, see that kid? And he pointed to me, he goes, he's lucky he's alive. And then he would go tell the story the way because it started in Japan in 1979. Yes. And I told him, Tom and I were texting when we were playing the Dodgers, and I said, you know, I still hate the Dodgers. I can't. So I hated the Dodgers. Tommy hated the Phanatic.
And the Phanatic didn't like the Dodgers at all.
No, really?
No, not a fan.
I think it bled into me, was this hatred.
Exactly right.
And Tommy was, from the standpoint of the work that we do, it's the greatest thing that could ever happen. And that video is seen by over 2 million people. And I'm like, okay, that's what they love.
That's what they love.
He was not mad at me until he was.
Until he was. That's a perfect way to describe. All right, what about you, Tom?
Well, that's, you know, the beauty of, when the Phanatic first came out, that was the shocking part, because he was getting reactions on the field from managers, coaches, umpires, and nobody had ever seen that before, you know, and so great. So I guess when I think of when the Phanatic is getting a response from the crowd is when he goes out there and he's getting that kind of reaction. But I do remember when we planet an umpire for the first time. Usually the Phanatic would go out there, and if it was, Dutch Renner coaching, umpiring third, you try to get Dutch to, try to react somehow. Right. But we did the old switcheroo for the first time. And so you can do a lot more when you have a plan out there. And Matt Mailer was his name. We all remember Matt, who embodied all these characters that the Phanatic would goof around with. But the first time we did it, the Phanatic goes out there and, he gooses the umpire, and, Matt likes, acting like the umpire is out there. He's really pulling it off. And then the next thing you know is a Ricky Martin song. He takes off his shirt, he puts a rose in his mouth, he's got this yellow, flamboyant shirt on, and he starts doing the tango with the Phanatic. And I remember David Montgomery, we all love David. David was even like almost fell out of his chair. Like he thought that was the umpire, he didn't recognize Matt. And so ever since that moment, Murph, it is fun when we can kind of do the old switcheroo and the Phanatic can, take liberties with the ump.
This is the big difference between when I was there and you were there. You have a dressing room with the star on the. Yes. I had a hole in the wall. You had.
Yeah, look how small this ring is. By the way.
We said
how small that is.
Yeah. So
that's like a Cracker Jack.
No budget for props and okay. That's right.
The Phanatic is the budget buster, Murph. Yeah.
No doubt about it. But he's got every single penny for every bald head that you've ever buffed, guys, and for all of the great memories. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks
guys.
Give us time with my buddy.
All right, time now to throw it over to Philadelphia's preeminent quizmaster. It's Johnny Goodtimes, and he's got some baseball trivia.
Who played his first game for the Phillies in 1982 and his last game against them in 2007?
Parks Casino. This is how you win.
It's summer at Parks Casino, and the weather isn't the only thing that's hot. Slots are hot, table games are hot, sportsbook is hot, live entertainment and restaurants are sizzling hot. And check out the X Club. Join and instantly get $20 free slot play. Plus, we'll match your tiered card from another casino. It's time for some hot summer action at the #1 casino in Pennsylvania. And now 100% smoke-free. Parks Casino. This is how you win.
A vacation in Montgomery County, PA is so affordable, you might lose your cool.
Oh, geez. Don't worry about it. It's free.
Feel free to explore the soldiers' huts.
Free? Yes! Parking is free! Free! It's free!
With so many affordable things in Montgomery County, go ahead. Freak out!
Philadelphia's favorite sports boutique and Wayne's favorite card store have joined forces to create an exciting new experience on the main line. Together, Shibe Vintage Sports and Wheelhouse Cards are offering fans a one-stop shop for throwback sports clothing, cards, memorabilia, and more, all the while supporting small community businesses. Be sure to check out their new locations in downtown Wayne, on Paoli Pike in Westchester, and online at shibesports.com.
Who played his first game for the Phillies in 1982 and played his last game against the Phillies in 2007? That would be Julio Franco, part of the infamous 5-for-1 Von Hayes trade.
If you're a trivia buff, head to JohnnyGoodtimes.com to hire Johnny for your next company party or private event.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. This week on our Phillies Show segment, the guys got to talk with former Philly Hunter Pence about being traded to Philadelphia.
Of course, you were a huge trade deadline acquisition for Ruben in 2011. When you think about that time, what immediately comes to mind for you?
Getting traded over to the Phillies, oh man, like it was what a blessing. Like I was super excited to be I was a Texas kid, right, born and raised, and it was an honor to play for the Astros. And you always have the dreams. Like I think if y'all all know me, like I'm a guy that wants to be loyal and like stick to whoever, but like you find out through the nature of baseball that's very difficult to have that opportunity to get to stay with one team. So obviously we were losing a lot in Houston, and it was a heartbreak that I wasn't able to like make it happen there. But then when I got to Philly, man, like this is a team that was prime, probably the most talented team 2011, the Phillies that I ever played on. I would say definitely. It was an insane group. Obviously, like, we didn't catch lightning in the bottle. Like, you got to have a lot of things go your way. But I got to meet like the Philly fan base, learn and experience a whole new city. And so it was perfect for me. That opportunity and coming in to Philly in that time was ridiculous. It was like really, really fun.
I still remember the day you arrived, Hunter, because, you know, there was a lot of rumors that, hey, they want a right-handed bat. Hunter Pence is the best right-handed bat out there. And we kind of knew that they're going to get Hunter Pence. The deal goes down, and you show up like an hour before game time. And I remember you came on the field, they had to spray paint your spikes red. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, because you had to have red spikes, and I didn't have any. And, man, I was about business. Like, I was coming, I play every day. I burned the field to the ground. Like, that's just who I was. Like, I'm going to hit the weights afterwards. And, like, but it's just very aggressive. It's just kind of my mindset. So spray paint the spikes, whatever we got to do.
For more Phillies analysis and interviews, subscribe to The Phillies Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you get your podcasts.
Well, that's all for this week's show. It was great to meet the best friends of the Philly Phanatic. For Gregg Murphy, I'm Sam Stafford, and we'll see you next week.